What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something different. We're absolutely roasting every GTA protagonist's main whip, because let's be real, some of these choices are questionable at best. We're starting with the OG himself, and working our way through the chaos that is Grand Theft Auto car culture. Alright, let's talk about Claude from GTA 3 and his iconic Banshee. This silent king really said, "I don't need words, my car will do the talking." And honestly, respectable energy. The Banshee was straight up one of the most sought-after rides in Liberty City, and Claude claiming it as his signature whip was a power move that still hits today. The Banshee looked absolutely clean with that sleek sports car design. It was giving main character energy before we even knew what that meant. Fast, stylish, and rare enough that when you finally got your hands on one, you felt like you'd made it. Claude understood the assignment when it came to picking a car that matched his mysterious, no-nonsense vibe. But let's keep it real for a second. This car was also kind of a nightmare to actually drive. The handling was decent for 2001 standards, but that thing would spin out if you looked at it wrong. You'd be feeling yourself cruising through Portland, then hit one pothole and suddenly you're facing the wrong direction, wondering what just happened. Plus, good luck finding another one when you inevitably wrapped it around a lamppost during a police chase. Overall though, Claude's Banshee choice was solid. It perfectly matched his silent but deadly energy, looked incredible for its time, and became genuinely iconic. The car basically carried the same mysterious cool factor that Claude himself had. Final grade, B+. Would have been an A, but those physics were not it. Now let's talk about Tommy Vercetti and his white Infernus. This man really walked into Vice City in 1986 and said, "I'm about to make this whole decade my personality." And honestly, the white Infernus was the perfect choice for that energy. Tommy understood the assignment completely. If you're gonna be the kingpin of a neon-soaked Miami knockoff, you need a car that screams, "I have arrived, and I'm better than all of you." The white Infernus delivered on every single level. This car was genuinely beautiful and ahead of its time. The sleek Lamborghini-inspired design looked absolutely stunning against Vice City's pastel aesthetic, and that white paint job was chef's kiss perfect. Tommy driving this thing while "I Ran" by Flock of Seagulls played on the radio was peak gaming moments that we're still trying to recreate today. The car matched his suit, matched his vibe, matched his era. It was fashion and function rolled into one gorgeous package. But here's the thing that keeps it from being perfect. This car was fast as hell, but had the structural integrity of wet cardboard. The damage modeling was rough, and watching your perfect ride get progressively more beat up during missions was genuinely painful. Plus, the handling could be sketchy when you really needed it to perform, especially during those high-stakes getaway moments. Still, Tommy's choice was iconic for a reason. The white Infernus became synonymous with Vice City itself, and that's not something you can say about most video game vehicles. It perfectly captured the excess and style of the 80s while being genuinely fun to drive when it wasn't falling apart. Final grade, A-. Lost points for being made of glass. But the style points are undeniable. Next up, we have CJ from San Andreas. And here's where things get interesting because this man didn't have one signature ride. He was all about that low-rider lifestyle. CJ really said, "Forget having one car, I'm about to make every hydraulic-equipped vehicle in Los Santos my personal collection." And you know what? That was actually genius. The lowrider scene was such a huge part of San Andreas culture, and CJ embracing that whole aesthetic was perfect character development. The thing about CJ's lowrider obsession was that it actually made sense for his story. This wasn't some random car choice. It was deeply connected to Grove Street culture and his whole journey of reconnecting with his roots. But let's be honest about the practical side of things. These cars were slow as molasses and had the turning radius of a cruise ship. You'd be trying to escape the cops in your beautiful custom lowrider, and it felt like driving through honey. The hydraulics were fun for about 5 minutes until you realized they served no actual purpose other than looking cool. And don't even get me started on trying to do any serious driving missions with these things. It was like bringing a shopping cart to a Formula One race. That said, CJ's lowrider phase was culturally significant in a way that most GTA car choices weren't. It represented something bigger than just transportation. It was about identity, community, and style over pure performance. The fact that you could pour hours into customizing these rides made them feel personal in a way that other GTA cars never quite achieved. Final grade: B-. Points for cultural authenticity and customization. But those physics were rough. Moving on to Niko and his Infernus from GTA 4. This is where things get spicy because Niko really thought he was doing something with this choice. But honestly, it felt like he was trying too hard to recreate Tommy Vercetti's magic, and it just didn't hit the same. Don't get me wrong, the Infernus in GTA 4 was objectively a beautiful car with that updated Lamborghini design, but something about Niko driving it felt off-brand for his whole war-torn immigrant trying to find the American dream storyline. The car itself was genuinely impressive from a technical standpoint. The physics in GTA 4 were revolutionary for their time, and the Infernus actually felt like it had weight and momentum when you were driving it. The handling was realistic enough that you had to actually think about your turns instead of just flooring it around every corner. Plus, the visual design was clean as hell. Sleek, modern, and expensive looking in all the right ways. But here's the problem. This car didn't match Niko's energy at all. This man spent the entire game talking about how he came to America with nothing, struggling to make ends meet, and dealing with serious trauma from the war. Then suddenly he's cruising around Liberty City in a $250,000 supercar. It felt disconnected from his character arc. The Infernus screamed, "Look how successful I am," when Niko's story was supposed to be more grounded and gritty. Final grade: C+. Great car, wrong protagonist. Now let's talk about Michael DeSanta and his Ubermacht Sentinel from GTA 5. This choice was actually pretty brilliant when you think about it. Michael picked the most aggressively mediocre luxury sedan he could find, and that perfectly encapsulated his whole midlife crisis energy. This man was living in witness protection, trying to be a respectable family man, but still wanted to feel like he was better than everyone else. And the Sentinel delivered exactly that boring rich guy aesthetic. The Sentinel was the automotive equivalent of khakis and a polo shirt. It looked expensive enough to show that Michael had money, but bland enough that he wouldn't stand out in his Vinewood Hills neighborhood. It was fast enough to handle business when things got messy, but comfortable enough for his daily suburban dad routine. The car basically screamed, "I peaked in the 90s, and I'm trying to recapture that feeling through responsible adult purchases." The problem was that this car was just forgettable. Like, genuinely forgettable. It drove fine, looked okay, and did its job without any personality whatsoever. Which, to be fair, was probably the point. Michael was trying to blend in and be normal, so his car choice reflected that. But from a gaming perspective, driving the Sentinel felt like driving a very expensive beige box. It was reliable and practical, but it had zero soul. Final grade: C. It served its narrative purpose, but driving it was about as exciting as filing taxes. Franklin Clinton and his Bravado Buffalo S is where we start getting back to some actual taste. Franklin understood the assignment perfectly. He wanted something that looked expensive and powerful, but was still connected to his roots in the hood. The Buffalo S hit that sweet spot between street credibility and upward mobility that perfectly matched Franklin's character development throughout the game. This car actually had some serious performance behind the looks too. The Buffalo S was quick, handled well, and had that muscle car sound that made you feel powerful when you hit the gas. Franklin driving this thing through Los Santos just felt right. It looked like something a young guy with big ambitions would actually choose when he finally got some money. Plus, the customization options let you really make it your own, which fit Franklin's whole thing about building himself up from nothing. The only real issue with Franklin's choice was that it felt a little safe. Like it was a good car that made sense for his character, but it wasn't particularly memorable or iconic. It did everything it needed to do without being exceptional at anything. The Buffalo S was the definition of a solid B+ choice. Respectable, practical, and appropriate, but not quite special enough to be legendary. Final grade: B. Good taste, solid execution, just missing that extra spark. And finally, we have Trevor Phillips and his Canis Bodhi, which is honestly the most Trevor choice possible. This man looked at every clean, expensive, well-maintained vehicle in the game and said, "Nah, give me the rusty pickup truck that looks like it's been through 3 different apocalypses." The Bodhi perfectly captured Trevor's whole chaotic, unpredictable, I don't care about your opinions energy. From a character perspective, this choice was absolutely perfect. Trevor living in a trailer in the desert, driving around in a beat-up truck that looked like it ran on pure spite and methamphetamine. That was peak character consistency. The Bodhi looked like something you'd find in a junkyard, which was exactly right for someone like Trevor who thrived in chaos and destruction. It had personality in all the worst ways, just like Trevor himself. But as an actual vehicle to drive in the game, this thing was rough. The Bodhi handled like a shopping cart with 3 broken wheels, made horrible noises constantly, and felt like it was going to fall apart if you looked at it wrong, which again was probably intentional. But that doesn't make it any less frustrating when you're trying to actually get somewhere. The truck perfectly embodied Trevor's function over form philosophy, but sometimes you just wanted to drive something that didn't sound like it was dying. Final grade, B+. Perfect character choice, terrible driving experience, and we are done. Let know in the comments which GTA protagonist car was your absolute favorite, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, thanks for watching.